Welcome to Super Agents Live. This is the one place where you can come and hear the most successful people in real estate. You'll hear how these super agents built their businesses, how they stay productive, and how they stay motivated. Who am I? My name's Toby Salgado, and I made my first $1 million in real estate. And I'm your host for the next 30 minutes while we talk to yet another amazing real estate entrepreneur. Stay tuned.
Let's go! Yeah!
Ladies and gentlemen, guys and gals, hey, welcome. Super Agents Live. My name's Toby Salgado. I'm glad you showed up today. And if you were new, if you just found this show, I'm really excited for you. What we do on the show, if you don't know, we talk about building a business. We talk about building a real estate business. We bring on top producing agents, coaches, and authors. Now, I got to tell you, all of you guys, I've been so heads down in the last 4 months. We've been building out the radio side of the business. I've been working on getting guests, and it is tough getting these guys on the show. I really never bothered to look back at how far we've come. Today's episode is number 100. Now, my guest today is great, but I wish I would have kind of been planning for this, and brought on somebody like Simon Sinek or Richard Branson or Tony Robbins. So anyhow, I apologize. I'll make it up to you guys. I will tell you this. One highlight for this 100th episode is this. I get a ton of questions about coaching. And, and I personally, I only take on 4 clients. This is what we did. We just started working with Corcoran Coaching. Now, if you haven't heard Bob Corcoran's episode, to get a feel for him, go back. I forget what number it is, but it's good. And somebody that I respect personally. So if you're looking for a coach, reach out to CorcoranCoaching.com. Now, here's what Bob has told me. Every one of you guys in my audience, he will give you, not him, somebody on his team. By the way, that dude, it charges like $5,000 a month and you get one call with him. I've been lucky. I've spent 2 hours with a guy this week. I got $10,000 with coaching for free. Anyhow, but he will give everybody in the audience a free coaching session. So I know a lot of you guys are curious about coaching. Here's how you get a hold of them. You can just Google Bob Corcoran or Corcoran Coaching, or you can call them at 800-957-8353 and be sure to tell them that you listen to the show. Okay, in the meantime, you are going to love today's guest. His name is Lars Hedenborg, and he has a really, really interesting business. We talk about how he got into real estate in 2008, the worst time ever, and in 2012, just 4 years after that, he started planning for his exit. Today, he does just under 400 transactions, and he's built a business where this guy, he only goes into the office 2 days a week. We talk about how he's impatient with people, how he didn't want to call anyone, and how he built his business with direct marketing. We talk about how he designed his life, and he does everything opposite from the typical agent. Before we get there, let's hear it from our sponsor. We all know the best kind of referral is one from our sphere or farm. But how do we stay top of mind? Now, most people, they take a 3-pronged approach, right? They door knock in their farm, they call people, and they mail them. Most people fall down by not getting to their people, their sphere, their farm. They don't get them engaging content. And look, sure, we can list them a postcard, or we can send them an article that we think is going to be of interest to them. Our new sponsor, Discover Publications, takes that one step further. For just slightly more than the cost of a stamp, Discover Publications creates a completely customized newspaper. Now, they'll go out and they'll curate content, or you can create your own. All of my sponsors are white labeled. Now, prior to having them on the show, I called some of Discover Publications clients, and I talked to this one guy, and he does some interesting things. He'll go out and interview restaurants that are in his farm, in his sphere. He creates a write-up. He, interestingly enough, resells advertising in his own newspaper to his trusted network, whether that's the plumber or the insurance agent. And by the way, this guy has 60% market penetration. He told me the paper has cemented those numbers. If you're interested, go check out discoverpubs.com. Let me know what you think. Today's guest is definitely a top producer. In 2012, he did 275 transactions for $60 million. 2013, 300 transactions for $75 million. Today, we're going to talk about how he's getting extraordinary results and how he keeps moving the goalpost forward. I'm thrilled to welcome Lars Hedenborg. Hey, Lars, thanks for taking the time out today.
Yeah, thanks so much. It's an honor to be on your show. Thanks for having me.
Hey, no problems. So listen, Lars, I've given the audience a brief overview of your background, but maybe take a minute, tell us a little bit about yourself and your business.
Okay, cool. My market, I guess I'll start there, is Charlotte, North Carolina. I started in the business in 2008 was my first full year. Unbeknownst to me, sort of the market was on the verge of a meltdown, and never really saw an easy path in real estate until, really just the last few years or so. But I didn't have any sales experience or anything like that. Just kind of went about it, one transaction at a time. Didn't have any short sales. When the market turned, I didn't go to REO or short sales. I just kind of trudged along with general, retail sales, and managed to build up the buyer side of my business and step away from that, and then build up the listing side, mastered that, and hired in listing people, and then ultimately brought in sales and ops to get me out of the business. So this year we'll probably get close to 360, 370 sides, 85 million, maybe 90 million or so. And I work minimally in the business. I don't have any, day-to-day responsibility. I go in on Tuesdays for a team meeting and a couple one-on-ones, and then, my staff, I've got 4 full-time staff people, a couple part-time, and then 9 agents, 3 of which are new. So we're ramping them up right now. So we've got a really productive team. Average agent will sell, anywhere from 40 to 50 homes. I had a guy in May put 20 homes under contract. So we've got some pretty good stuff going on.
Interesting. Well, look, first of all, I mean, what you said was you said that you came into this. I mean, look, we'll talk about the time from 2008, September 2008, like the world was melting. We'll talk about the market, but you got into this with no sales skills. And I'm looking at your LinkedIn background right now. So you were a financial analyst for Bear Stearns, and then you were in acquisitions and strategy for Curtis Wright Controls, and those are the guys who make dials and stuff, don't they?
Yeah, they make actuators. So every Boeing jet, the flaps that go up and down when you land and take off, they make the monster actuators that control those. So I had more of a financial, somewhat business background, which gave me a head start to sort of build out the business. I had a focus on building a business, even though I was sort of learning how to be a salesperson, and then building a team and learning how to kind of develop people. The focus was always on building a true business, which I don't think there's as much of a focus on that as there needs to be right now, where most agents are stuck producing really forever because they don't have the business fundamentals down.
Right. So you came into this. I mean, if I look at your background, it looks like you have more than just a kind of business background. You look very business heavy, which is great. I mean, look, you came into this, you build a business, and look, we talk on the show. If you sell real estate, number one, this show is about entrepreneurship through the lens of a real estate agent. But if you sell real estate, you're fundamentally in retail, and real estate just happens to be your product. Would you agree with that? And
yeah, exactly. And most real estate agents can't sort of see that. A couple of things that I'll get into. The industry is in my opinion, is going to go through some pretty dramatic changes here, and I don't know that our margins are going to be what they are forever. But as it stands now, the ability to build up a real business that doesn't require you to work in it is possible in real estate because the margins are so fat. And most agents, when I got into the business, I had to start out, just me alone. Hired my first assistant, my first year, and my first buyer agent my second year, and then it kind of took shape from there. Yeah, but the focus has always been on, more of a business aspect. And I went to Duke for my MBA and those sorts of things. So I guess the fundamental thing that God blessed me with is, an impatience with people, and in the real estate business, the drama that comes along with working with buyers and sellers. I dealt with it for probably 3 years, And it was just too much for me ultimately to bear, and I just had to get out of the business.
See, and I want to just dive into something really quickly. You kept saying business, and here's how I view it, and I'd love to get your take on it, Lars. Is there's a business and a company, right? And you have an MBA, and again, I'm really curious to the way you see this, but I see it. A business is like the plumber, right? The plumber who marks, he cleans toilets or unclogs drink, whatever it is, that's a business, because if he stops doing that himself, right, unclogging those drains, like his income stops. Now, when you build a company, all right, and you've built a company, you can step away from it, and you have systems in place, you have people in place, and the machine just keeps doing what it's doing. Now, so you set out to, instead of a business, you set out to build a company. Today, you only go in on Tuesdays. That's insane, man.
Yeah. And so I don't know how I came into contact with the book, but at this point, anyone who's in business knows about, E-Myth and E-Myth Revisited,
yep.
Michael Gerber.
Yep.
But it's fun. It's gotten me in trouble a few times because I always wanted to work on the business, and I forgot that I had no other salespeople. So I had to always work, combination of in and on, but I was always working on the business, even if I had to work in the business. So I was always making sure that when I built a marketing system, a buyer system, it would generate the leads and systematically and for more sort of, policy driven, how my team would follow up with the leads. And there was, systems for checking in with the agents and making sure they were doing what they were supposed to be doing, and their conversion points were matching up with what I knew that I could do. And so I always had an eye toward building out systems, even when I was working in the business. So, yeah. And as a result of doing that, like my average price point in my market's about $250. So this year we'll have a good shot of getting to about 2.75 million top line, and gross profits, 65%, 66%. That's the fundamental thing there that's going to freak most listeners out, and probably get the most questions from your listeners, is that my gross profits are almost 2/3. Most teams, I would say, have gross margins flip-flopped. So they're, I'm taking 65% to pay expenses, and most teams are probably about a 20% delta there, where they're lucky if they have 40 or 45% left over after they pay their agents. So we have a huge value proposition for agents that are on our team. And my agents are, making more money than 95% of agents in my market, because they have no guesswork on how business is done, where it comes from, and there's no expenses to them. And all of my agents are netting more than 100. One guy will get to 175, where he's making me, 2/3 of what he's taking home. 2 times what he's making,
right.
I'm grossing.
Right. See, look, you have the thing that everybody wants. This is why Lars, your story is why people get into this business, because they think that they can model you and it'll happen. And look, you haven't been, so let's talk about the timing, because I want to talk about how long really it's taking you to build this. Now, you got into real estate in 2008. We know in September 2008, Lehman failed. The world, it was like the world was so different after Lehman failed, right? People are pulling money out of their banks and shoving it in their mattresses. People certainly did not trust in real estate in 2009, 2010. So if I think about your career, it maybe started in 2010 or 2011. And I don't know any of this. I'm just hypothesizing. So tell me, take us back to 2008 and through the sequence of events, 2008, 9, 10, and when your business, that hockey stick growth, right, up and to the right. When did that happen for you, and what did you do?
Well, it was pretty steady. So I did 58 transactions in 2000. Let me go backwards. So last year was about 325. 2013 was 320. 2012 was 250. 2011 was 180. 2010 was 120, and 2009 was 60. And that's when I hired my first person. So at the end of 2009 was my first buyer agent hire. I did 54. He did like 4. for 58 total. So 58 to 118 to 178 to 248 to 318 to, hopefully 375, 360 to 375 this year. So there really wasn't a slowdown in the growth trajectory. It was more a function of, and it could have been just good timing, like with everything bad happening, and I was still, doing anything I could to make deals happen. Attracting agents, wasn't the most difficult thing. Attracting good agents is something I learned over the years, but it wasn't hard to find people to work the leads that I was generating. And at that time, it was a lot of buyer leads. So I focused heavily on buyer business in the beginning. Getting 3-4 agents productive and busy and following my methods allowed me to shift over and focus on the listing side, master that, and hand that off at the end of 2011. And then 2012 is when I sort of began my exit and brought the ops manager in and the sales manager. Sales manager was already there. I kind of promoted her, and then I had an office manager that I promoted to ops manager. And at this point, I really, last 2 months I've only been in 2 days each month. And
oh my gosh.
For May 45, we put 45 under contract in May, and I was there 2 days. And fundamentally, I learned that give the right people a really cool opportunity, and people are going to take advantage of it in a good way for their own benefits, and their own drive is going to come out. So, people have to want to make money, and they have to have a drive to be successful. And that's the main ingredients of the people on my team.
Okay, but so you've created this environment that where you're able to attract top talent. Now so you're all about systems, right? You're all about these processes. That's what you focused on early on. How in the world in 2009 did you do 65 transactions because I thought you said you never got into short sales. You always kept it traditional.
Yeah. So in Charlotte, I mean, the worst over the time period when the market was declining and prices were going down, 2008, our market turned in like middle 2007, just naturally. The rest of the country sort of turned 2005, 6, in terms of just sort of natural cycles. So we didn't have like that crazy of a decline. I think our max decline was about 20%. So there were people, it was still a frustrating time, frustrating time where people had all their equity in a way, and they wanted to overprice their home, and the market wasn't responding. But there were still buyers in the market, so my business back then, I think in 2000, the year I did 118 sales, I only did 33 listings. I did 33 listings myself and 33 buyers, and my team did the rest. So that's the year I did 66 sides personally. But we've always been a buyer-centric business. It's just the last couple of years that we've been, balanced. This year we'll probably do about 50% listings, 50% buyers.
Okay. All right. So I make that mistake all the time. I'm in San Diego. So, again, 2008, 2009, it was, I was buying houses. I literally would look at the tax rolls. I'd look at the assessed value of the land. And, on REOs, that's what I'd offer the bank. All cash. I'll buy the land, and I'm going to fundamentally get the structure for free. So I forget that sometimes not everybody look that way. Okay. So what is this thing? So you've always been, until just a few years ago, you've always been heavy on the buyer side. So what did you stumble upon, Lars, that you were able to attract these really good buyer leads?
I picked up Boomtown.
Yep.
Really early. So back then it was Realty Generator, and Boomtown was new on the scene. So now it's sort of everyone has a lead gen platform, and it's, there's no real competitive advantage. But back in 2008, when I got it, I was their 9th customer, so there was no Commission Inc., and there was no, Conversion or Real Geeks. None of those companies existed. And so, I was new. That was a real pretty sexy thing at the time, and it allowed me to recruit agents into it because I could just show them what it is, show them that last month I generated 150 leads, 100 of which I didn't even contact. And it was a pretty cool value proposition. And I convinced them, based on my production, that even if you did, 2/3 of my production, because you don't have to worry about all this other crap, I could show you a path to $100,000 even if you're getting a lower commission split than anyone else in my market, which is what is on my team. So it's kind of, I think it was having that technology early on. Before that, my first year I was just running, direct Dan Kennedy, direct response style ads on Craigslist. Clickable links were worked back then, and I could advertise, have a clickable image, distress sales, free list of distress sales, click here and take them to a static landing page and get their contact information, make it a pretty sweet offer. And that's how I operated for my first 18 months before Boomtown came out. And once Boomtown came up, I'm like, man, it's got to be easier than what I'm doing. And then I picked up Boomtown, and I've probably made $1 million in commission on Boomtown since that time.
Does Greer know that? He's made you $1 million?
Yeah, he knows it. I mean, it's funny because I when I started with Boomtown, I had a personal relationship with those guys that started the company. Now they've got like 1,000 platforms, so I'm a bit of a number, in their cog. But I appreciate those guys immensely.
Yeah,
I give them props every chance I can.
Yeah, Greer. By the way, Greer has been on the show,
yeah, cool.
He's a good guy. He's a really good guy, man. I released something kind of on the down low, and he heard about it, and he's like, "Dude, I will help you." And I was like, "That is cool, man." So listen. So again, we've had Greer on the show. Boomtown is a tool for teams, right? In terms of cost, right? And I don't want to really get into it, but it's about $1,800, right? That's you got to have a little bit of money to go out and do it. Now, there's a chicken and egg kind of problem that people struggle with. They're like, well, I don't want to dedicate. I don't have a team. It's just me, right? Or maybe like I have a buyer's agent. Committing to $1,800 a month is a big outlay. For you, and tell me if I'm wrong, but were you in the situation of you're like, okay, I'm just going to throw out the money. I don't have the team to support the fire hose of leads I'm going to get, but once I can get that fire hose, then that will allow me to go out and attract talent. Is that what you did?
Yeah, exactly. So I did it backwards to the way now it's a little different. I mean, there are single agents going out and getting these platforms, and at the time, I had done business with a lender that sort of got it. And I said, hey, listen, this is what I'm looking at. This is the future. This is how I'm going to build my team. And, that lender is still with me under an MSA. And that was so 6 years ago. We started working together, my lender and I have a few more lenders on the system now, but just knowing that was going to be the future of my business. If I wanted a team with leverage and clarity into, accountability, agent accountability, and the dashboards in the back end, and being able to work with 100 times more buyer prospects leads than you could in our MLS system. Generate one lead. The old way I did it was generate a lead and put them on a search in my MLS, and it would take, 15 minutes to do what Boomtown could do in 30 seconds.
Right.
So I knew once I demoed that system that, it had to be in my business if I was going to really scale things. And now, I mean, everything I do is direct response. I mean, just in the last 2 years, I've gone to more branded, but even all the expired marketing I've done, I've always direct mailed expireds. I've never been much of a phone jockey, but I've always direct mailed and had them call me, and it's worked really well. Same thing with FSBOs. I direct mail, letter and postcard campaigns to FSBOs that work really well. And now I'm doing direct mail to geographic farms. That's a little bit more branded, but it all has direct response, Dan Kennedy, old school, good copywriting elements to it. And I think, a lot of agents just don't think about their marketing in a way. And most businesses don't. Like you made the example before of business versus company. But the purpose of anything I send out is to elicit a direct response. So I'm not going to mail something to you unless it says, for a free copy of my 151, whatever, go to 151stepsystem.com. It's a very deliberate attempt to solicit an action from the person that's consuming whatever I send out. So I think just having that benefit of looking at marketing in a different way, I think that too, really, really helped. And it's the same thing with my past clients in SOI. From the first transaction, I used Top Producer, the tool that everyone loves to hate, and I use it to communicate with every month. I direct mailed something from back
Oh, Lars. We lost Lars. Hold on. Let's get him back on the line here.
All right.
Okay, we're back. So listen, man, I'm sure you were dropping some gold there, but let's see if hopefully we can re-spark that. I want to ask you this, so because not everybody knows this. You were talking about clear calls to action. You were talking about direct response. Now, people may have heard that term direct response, but can you explain what that is for everybody?
Yeah. So especially as I'm getting involved more in helping agents in their careers, everyone gets into real estate and they think that that they need to sort of work on their brand or go out immediately and ask their friends for business. And, the whole building a brand is very, very expensive and it takes a long time to do. And ultimately, I believe it's what kills most agents. I think there's some stat like 75% of agents don't renew their license, at their 1-year anniversary. So they're out of business. 4 out of 5 agents are out of business. I may be misquoting a stat, but it's some big number. So what I did early on is that even before I had the Boomtown platform, I would run an ad in Craigslist and just say, free list of distressed sale homes. Go to, charlottebankrepos.com for more info. And I would send it to a static, landing page and something. I put words out there. And the only thing they could do, and it elicits a direct response for them to take action.
Got it.
And, I've always used elements of that. It's Dane Kennedy 101. I have every book that Dane Kennedy's ever written, and they're all really, really good. So even in my expired letters that I mail out today, same deal. FSBO, same deal. Even the geographic farms that I'm doing now, which is something I did later on, there are elements of branded, it's obviously my mug on the stuff that I send out, but throughout, it's all peppered with direct response elements. If you're thinking of selling your home, go to this website for a free copy of this. So they can't just read the newspaper and not be like, oh yeah, I am thinking of selling my home. That'd be a cool guide to have.
Right.
Yeah, so it's even in my past client and SOI communication, same deal.
So this is a little bit kind of going deep on this a little bit, but you have an MBA, you're a marketing guy. Clearly, I mean, if you were using way back then using landing pages, people still, honestly, man, I top producers, most people don't know what a landing page is or how it works or why you should have it. So I mean, you obviously have been ahead of the curve. And I'm sure you do a lot of testing. Now, earlier you mentioned copy, right? Good copy. And when you send that you can send a generic item out. Hey, if you're thinking about selling your house, go download my free ebook or whatever, right? Call to action. Or you can say, hey, Toby, right? So so get more personal. What is your experience with getting more personal rather than just generic copy?
Yeah, I mean, my thing about me personally, I mean, I built my business around my strengths, which, I've never been much for picking up the phone. So that's why the whole direct response thing even appealed to me. Most of what I do, or at least in the beginning years, if in the last 6 years, the first 4 was all direct response, mostly to the masses. So very impersonal. But the bait was attractive enough. I put a gold brick out there where people were going to respond to it. So I just don't do anything nothing in my business is sort of traditional where, the touchy-feely, like the average agent is still like late 50s female, and everything she does, I don't do. She's dropping off, a pie to her past clients, 1 pie every hour.
Right, right.
I'm direct mailing 1,300 people, my past clients, my sphere, and saying, if you want a pie, I'd love to have you come one, pick it up and you come to the office. So everything is just done with an eye toward leverage and not getting sucked into things that take too much time.
Interesting, man. That is so interesting. I'll
be down in a second. Go quick. Sorry, full disclosure to everyone on the call.
No, that's great.
My 6-year-old son getting home from school, and we're going swimming. So
cool.
But let's go ahead and push forward.
Okay, right. I mean, I have a 6-year-old too, so I mean, I love it. Let me break in here with a message from our sponsor. Our sponsor, Discover Publications, will create a customized, branded 12-page newspaper that will be sent out to your farm and sphere. Now, this paper is cheaper than you think. For slightly more than the cost of a stamp, you can start sending out curated content and always stay top of mind. Never lose a deal again because that prospect just happened to forget that you were in real estate or misplaced your number. Go check them out at discoverpubs.com. Tons and tons of people on this show, but you are the first guy that has really come on and said, you know, I've had some people say, hey, you know, I wanted to build a real estate business, but I never wanted to put anybody in my car. You know, you are in a lot of ways taking that one step further because you were like, you know what? I want to build a business where people just call me. I'm not going to call them. And you know what? I'm not going to come to them. They can come to me. It's amazing, man. I mean, with every business, I think that there's you certainly had a lot of talent, but I mean, there's a little bit of luck involved, right? There's a little bit of that right timing. Do you think, how much of your business do you think it is just you being deliberate and good and talented? And you know, was there much luck in what you built?
I don't think so. I mean, for a period of time, I was willing to do what I know most agents aren't willing to do. I mean, literally, you know, come home from a full day of work and showing properties up till 6 o'clock, and I had a newborn downstairs, and at 6:30 I committed to a time block on Tuesdays, Thursdays, and 10 to 12 on Saturdays where, you know, in addition to 6 other hours that I time blocked, those 3 time blocks every Tuesday evening, every Thursday evening, you know, I got up there and I had a quick dinner, and I saw Anders, my now 6-year-old, who's standing behind me waiting to go swimming. You know, I was willing to do what most agents aren't willing to do. So that whole expression, you know, entrepreneurship is living your life for a few years like most people won't.
Yeah.
So you can live the rest of your life like most people can't. I mean,
right.
I see that and I get goosebumps. So luck could have been that I got into it when the market crashed. Our roster went from 9,800 to under 6,000 in a 3-year period. So less competition for transactions as I was scaling things up. So I think that part of it actually was a blessing when I look back. You know, at the time, it was like, holy cow, I just left a easily 6-figures job, you know, to do this thing. And, you know, everyone thinks it's a joke getting into real estate, first of all, because nobody respects real estate agents. And I had to, you know, a newborn, you know, we were trying to have a number 2, which we did. So no, I don't think it was luck. I think it was just a combination of the market going bad, I think was a good thing. And, you know, being in Charlotte, I think that was a lucky thing, you know, so it wasn't in like Miami where prices went down, you know, 60%.
Right. Or Las
Vegas. Whatever crazy number. Yeah. Or, you know, anywhere on the West Coast. But, yeah, I think it was just hard work. I mean, it's not a complicated business. It's so easy. And now it's even easier to generate, you know, even buyer leads for sure, but seller leads, you know, but it's picking up the phone. Now the big thing is that everyone wants to outsource picking up the phone. Right? So everyone is outsourcing their inside sales. And to the extent where there are agents in my market that are asking me, like, you know, who should I use for, like, what's your secret, you know? And they want to outsource and offshore their inside sales to the Philippines, which, you know, for calling past clients as a customer service call is a good idea, but for new business dialing is just not effective. So they're abdicating the one thing that's so critical about the business. So that's the one thing I'll always have in my agents. I always drill it to them is that your ability to pick up the phone. That's why I need you. It's not to, you know, not to take the easy business. It's to talk to new people this week that you didn't talk to last week.
Gotcha. Let me ask you just a couple, you know, mindset questions because it to me it's amazing to me that I see guys like you. You again, I'm a little bit repeating myself, but you know, you got into the business in 2008. In 2012, you started planning your exit. Now. 2012, I forget the numbers you did. I think 60 million or so in 2012. And then you keep growing every year. You keep growing, but you are spending less and less time there. That's backwards. Again, you know how you got it when you hired Boomtown with the team, but talk to me about that. And look, let me say it a different way. And I'm talking way too much, and I apologize. But you have an ideal life. You're making money. You have a great team. You only have to go into the office twice. Why are you even thinking about growing more? Why not just put this thing on autopilot? You live a wonderful life, do it for another 5 years and retire. And you don't even have to retire. Like, you, again, keep coming in 2 days a week or a month.
Yeah, and it's a good, and I'm sort of at that point. So it's at the point now where to grow much past beyond 400 transactions would require probably another level of staff, maybe a couple additional hires in staff. I mean, I only have 4 full-time staff members. That ratio doesn't jive with most people, and I only have really 6 productive agents because 3 are new. 3 have only put like 10, 12 homes under contract, so the other 210 or 215 this year, and we're in mid-July, are from 6 people. So really, really productive. So the plan is exactly that. I mean, there's no reason. I'm probably not going to want to grow past 400 sides. If we could do 450, without hiring more admin or more staff, more overhead, I might go there. But then it's just cherry picking and elevating our price point and staying at that 400 transaction level. The sweet spot is definitely there. I have no desire to open satellite offices or do the KW expansion model or grow to 1,000 transactions. There's that 1,000 transaction mark out there, but I mean, I'm clear that I want my life to be super simple.
Yeah.
And that does not include, getting much bigger than I am today.
Well, okay. So let me ask you this way, because I'm just curious about the way you think, and I want the audience to kind of get a peek inside your head a little bit. So again, you've designed your life. This is something I talk about, but people don't do. They don't think. But you have completely designed your life, and it's great. What about stretching yourself, right? I mean, most people have a problem with designing their life, but most people have a problem with stepping outside their comfort zones. Are you still on a weekly, daily, monthly basis? Are you still, challenging yourself personally? And what does that look like?
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, you have children, so my focus is just on different areas of my life, so to be a really like a kick-ass dad and, not just be the fun guy, but to, I'm a man of faith. So, bringing my faith into how I raise my family and being a better husband and a better brother and a better son. My father's real ill, and so he's on his his last part of his life, and being there in a way and honoring him. I'm starting the consulting business is a year old, so helping other agents have a deep impact in their life and getting into the internet marketing part of all that. So I work 4 days a week, 5 days a week. Friday is kind of my down day to create content or whatnot, but I'm clear about, this time in my children's life that, I'll never get back, especially like 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's just like an amazing time. I mean, the stuff that comes out of their mouths, and my, daughter broke her leg yesterday, and, seeing that and, having no deals going on, and just being able to be with her, and, there's just no distractions. My cell phone doesn't ever ring. Nobody has my cell phone number. And so I'm just able to be there in a different way. So that's where my focus is. And it's incredibly rewarding trying to figure out how to do those things. My fitness, my health is a big, I'm up at 5 in the morning, personal trainer 5 days a week, and all that stuff is really, really cool. So, and then just building out, Real Estate B School, is something, it's an online academy that I've developed. And it's not a sell into it or anything, but that took a lot of effort to get that up and running. And now, serving this way of doing business to agents that want to be there differently for their families and to sort of give back contribution. I'm real, big into contribution financially and time. I'm leading a mission trip to Nicaragua next week. So there's just different things I get involved in. And real estate just isn't that fun. It's not that important, really. I mean, that's kind of the bottom line.
Right. Well, because you've gotten to that point, and you wouldn't have said that back in 2009, right? In terms of it being not that important. I mean, once you've reached a level of success, and you can say that today. But let me back up for a second, because you said, and I want to talk a little bit about your school. I also want to talk about about leads. But you said, you built this. I don't know what it is, but we can talk about it for a couple minutes. But you built this thing, and you said, you mentioned the word serving, right? You were serving people, and I think that if you're gonna whatever product you sell, right, you need to be a servant. You need to serve people, not just dish it up. So how do you combine that with your agents, right? You hire talent, you have this machine, right? Early on, it was Boomtown kicking out leads. But in order for you to be this successful, this fast, you had to have built like a serving type culture within your company. Can you talk to that a few minutes?
Yeah, and you're exactly right. So when I was in the thick of it, and I was the only guy prospecting, and I had those tough days where I had Andrews downstairs, his 1-year-old, and I still had to go upstairs. I mean, it didn't sound as cool as it is today to say, yeah, real estate is not important. So you're right. I that's a good calling me out on that. But when I brought agents on, I don't think many people in general care, that much about like someone's story. So for all of my agents, that I've had on my team, for my staff, I know about their personal situation. I know their personal goals. I really, have served them every step of the way. So I know that there are other teams that they can go to. I know they can go independent, but I know that the systems we built and the way my staff treats their clients is like no other team that's out there. And so I think, when I talk to teams now, they just don't have much of an awareness of, well, tell me, like I asked them, tell me about, that agent. What's their personal deal? And they don't really know. And we take a deep level of interest in our agents and our staff's lives. We know what's important to them. We start our team meetings with a positive focus where, we go one personal, one professional win for the week. And, there's like 15 of us that go through one personal, one professional win for the week and why it was important to you. So it starts in a very gratitude kind of way, and we're talking about wins, and it's upbeat, and everyone knows about everyone's personal lives. And it's not just burn and churn real estate, which a lot of teams are set up on the burn and churn sort of model.
Yep.
And we survey all of our clients. So we do the Net Promoter Score survey, and so we solicit feedback. If the ones that don't give us feedback are the ones that probably aren't happy with our service, and my operations manager is required to call them up and get feedback so we can always get better, because we want to serve our clients as well. So I do believe in, I think it was a book, what was it, Traveler's Gift? Have you ever read that book, Traveler's Gift?
I haven't. I've heard of it, but I've never read it.
Pretty good. It's like one of those fables, which are always just the easiest reads, but there's like 7 sort of ways to live your life, and it comes down to sort of a servant, the whole servant leadership model, and
right.
Personal responsibility and all that. So, yeah, and especially in this new business, my ability to deeply serve agents and know about their spouse and know about their children and know about their health, and me not be fearful to call them out on their health and ask them about their relationship with their spouse and ask them about the time that they spend with their kids, or they're on their phone when they should be with their kids. That's a sort of a different way to serve that market as well.
Got it. And real quick, tell me what you're building or what you have built, because I'm not aware of it, unfortunately.
Yeah. So it's teaching agents and team leaders just to do business a different way. So no matter where they are in their business, to have an eye toward building a sustainable business. So when you put that expired system in place, how do you keep it running forever? How do you get yourself out of the low dollar productive activities and elevate your worth? So you're spending more hours of your day doing things that are worth more, prospecting, meeting with clients, recruiting a team under you. So the end goal, the end vision of Real Estate B School is to have a business that you can not only exit production, but you can sort of step out of and own a true business or company, as you called it.
Got it.
So there's no training of its kind necessarily that's sort of just geared toward that one outcome. It's like 20 hours of online training. I do consulting as well, but and again, it's not a big sell for it, but it is for those interested in doing things a little differently. First thing I do is just offer a strategy session, so we can just get on the phone and chat about their business, and they can ask me questions about my business and kind of take it from there. So if there is a website, it's larsstrategysession.com.
Got it. Cool. Yeah, we'll get to all that stuff in the end. So I want to, and I do in a minute. I want to talk about, you just mentioned, a predictable business, a stable business, and how do you build that out where you can exit yourself. I want to talk about two other things before we get there. Number one, earlier what you said, so we survey our clients, and you mentioned, a net promoter score. Now, 1% of agents maybe know what that is, because not even all tech people know it. And again, right, you're using net promoter score. Back in the day, you were using landing pages. Lars, how are you really cutting edge on? You were the ninth person on Boomtown. How are you on the cutting edge of all this new stuff where people are just they have no idea?
I think it's funny. I mean, I was, I entered during undergrad and I went to Duke for my MBA, but it's only when I started reading books and different books that exposed me to different things. Like Net Promoter Score, I mean, you can Google it and get all the information in the world on it, but like Raving Fans, Ultimate Sales Machine, Chet Holmes, Mastering the Rockefeller Habits, Vern Harnish, Dan Kennedy, Time Management is a big one. Business Success, Sales Success by Dan Kennedy. There's probably a dozen books. Darren Hardy, I've done his Living Your Best Year Ever. Anthony Robbins, I've been to all of his stuff. I mean, all of this stuff is like all the Jim Rohn and, Dennis Waitley and some of those things are like almost free now. Like they give away the 2011 Jim Rohn weekend for like $97 for 4 days of training. There's so many things out there that it's just ridiculous. Like I don't spend any time listening to music. I've always got stuff like that going on. So I've learned more in the last 6 years than every bit of all my education, combined, probably times 10.
Yeah.
Because it's all practical stuff. It's you can apply to your business, straight away. And most agents don't have that big vision of having a true company, as you called it. And so when they're operating, they're just doing tasks and they're not building a system behind it.
Right.
So if something goes wrong, I want to say what could we have done earlier, and what action plan step could we have put in Top Producer where we didn't get that wrong in the MLS, and it still happens today where we get something wrong and we change something, we go to a plan or a checklist ahead of it and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
So I just, I love that, you're always learning and, and look, that's why this show, I mean, you should listen to my show. I mean, we can all learn more stuff and, for the people, my audience, I mean, the value they're getting from the time they're spending with you today is amazing. And look, you said you read a lot of books. And I will ask you this. I mean, I have my opinion on it. If you're in real estate, you shouldn't just be reading real estate books. You should be, you should read stuff outside of the industry, because it will give you a different perspective. You will learn new things. What's your take on that?
Yeah. And it's more important because there's nothing really, I mean, just lately with Keller Williams focusing on, team expansion. And I mean, obviously, Keller Williams has done some pretty good work, but there's so much information available outside of real estate that just hasn't made its way in our industry. I'm looking at my books here, and I've got every business book you could ever want. But I mean, I'll pay $1,000 for a time management, Darren Hardy,
right.
Time management course. I've gone to conferences, Dan Kennedy Info Summit and his summits, which are available. I've done Strategic Coach, which is just business training for entrepreneurs. Everything to do with Tony Robbins. I think I spent like $75,000. Been to Fiji twice.
Oh wow.
I documented it's about $400,000 I spent on 150 on real estate training. I've had about 6 personal coaches and 6 other sort of systems, and probably about 250 on just personal development stuff like Dan Kennedy and Evan Pagan and Brendan Burchard and those guys. And all of it's worth it. All of it's 10 times return. So I think it's just looking outside the real estate industry, and also just kind of your BS meter has to be so high on everything you hear now. Every agent's like, this is working really well. Like Facebook ads for seller leads is where it's at, right? I generated 7,000 leads last weekend, and I converted none into a listing appointment. You know, and it's like everyone goes out and gets that system, and it's just a complete shiny object and a time suck, and it doesn't turn into anything. So I think it's just having a pretty healthy BS meter and just knowing that fundamentally there's only 4 marketing pillars that I focus on. You know, it's buyer internet leads, yard marketing, farming, which is expireds, FSBOs, and geographic, and past clients and sphere. And that's all I really do. So it's just keeping my business simple and not chasing different technologies. I've used Top Producer for everything, Google Apps, and that's basically it, you know, and like, you know, a Boomtown.
Right.
Like 3 technologies kind of run my whole business.
So, and we're going to start wrapping up here. I know you got to go swimming with your 6-year-old, but you are not afraid of spending money on your personal development. And I think most agents are like, they don't want to do that. For me, I mean, that's what I see. I mean, I feel like, you know, agents don't get it, or they don't think the value's there. Give us a guide, you know, in terms of, let's say that I make 50 grand or 100 grand or whatever, what percentage of my net income should I devote towards personal development?
I've always had it at, you know, in the beginning, you know, I signed up for it was $1,000 a month, and I was brand new to real estate. And so I didn't have, you know, consistent closings. I think there was only 1 month in my career that I had no closings. So, you know, I got up and running pretty quickly. But I spent $1,000 a month for 12 months out of the gate on coaching. So, because I knew they were going to get me there quicker and faster. And, you know, in most markets, I mean, the average commission check is 6 to, you know, at 200,000 to, you know, some markets are 9,000, some are 12,000 average commission checks. Mm-hmm. So to spend, you know, $1,000 or $1,500 a month, you know, when you can get there quicker and you can be more profitable. It's just, it really comes down to, you know, yeah, I actually don't understand it because I'm sort of a personal development junkie. But, you know, people that aren't willing to invest, or they're like looking for the quick fix when there really is none. You know, I just believe in it, you know, and that's why I got into the space, you know, because I think there can always be an improvement on what's out there.
Yeah, I agree. And so again, we're going to wrap up, but I want to, so you said that there's no quick fix. There's no silver bullet. And I agree with you. I 100% agree with you, but I do think there are some things, and one thing that you're utilizing, right? So you were early on, you were heavy on the buyer side, you know, and you had Boomtown, but you, as of a few years ago, that kind of, you found equilibrium, and now you're going to be at a 50-50. What is that thing that got you? Because I think I know what it is, but what's the thing that got you to pick that the listing side up to match the buyer side percentage amount?
Yeah, so it definitely was, you know, once I established my team, and I guess it was January 2011, so I forget what year that was, but I did shift to, and again, it's direct response, but radio. So radio at that time for me was like Boomtown was when I picked up Boomtown. So I probably wasn't at the point where I could afford it, or I should have been able to afford it, but I did it anyway.
Got it.
And that took me from probably 20 or 25 listings to, I remember it was like 92 listings at one point. The market wasn't that great the year I was doing it. So that it was easier to build up, you know, listing inventory because the listings weren't flying off the shelf. But my involvement with Rate and Matt Wagner, I mean, had a big impact. You know, we just added a really big station here. Our push for 400, I think, is going to require a little bit more of that type exposure. And some of it, you know, there are direct response elements to it, so we definitely keep it direct response, but there aren't many people that haven't heard me on the radio, you know, which is pretty cool. So when I do the expired, when I do the FSBO, even when I do Boomtown, you know, or I do a geographic farm, you know, people are attaching that, you know, oh, that's the guy. I did F3. We have F3, which is a Christian-based fitness group, fitness fellowship, and faith, I think, are the 3 Fs. And they give these weird names, but at the end of my first session this weekend, they didn't know my name. I said, Lars, I do real estate here in Charlotte. And he said, oh, you're the guy on the radio. You give the guarantee. And, and that's a guy I'd never met before. So definitely having that has definitely boosted the listing side. But also being in the business, my first transaction, when that person went into a database that I marketed to consistently since that first transaction. So every year, this year, 40% of my business is past client and SOI. Last year was 30. The year before it was 25. The year before it was like 20. So I have a bigger past client, 1,200 past clients now, 300 sphere that I care about. And I market to them every month for the last 6 years. So fundamental, business database kind of thing, and never letting go of that.
Got it. And for radio, again, what percentage, 40% is your past clients and SOI. What percentage would you contribute to radio?
I think right now, we've got about probably 30 sides out of 2, so 15%. So it's 15% of the total business, but maybe 30% of my listing business, 25% of my listing business.
Got it. Cool.
So it's definitely, the ROI is always a tricky one because, you need to get a 6 months to a year into a station before the ROI really sort of makes any sense. But it's going to be the way we get from 360 this year to 400 next year, probably.
Got it. Okay. Again, before we wrap up, is there something that you were talking earlier about building a predictable business, a stable business? Is there what do you want to talk about any of that you teach that that you when you are serving the agents in that your new project, and what is it called again?
Well, the sort. I'm founder of the Real Estate Business School, so it's called Real Estate B School, and it's bringing basic business fundamentals into the real estate arena. With my team as the framework, what I was able to do, and looking back and having the connect the dots ability, of having done what I've done and putting the framework around it. So it's an online academy, and it basically teaches real estate agents to build a sustainable business, one that's based on profits, and not most of these teams, aren't profitable. And so it's value-based commissions for your agents, so keeping your gross margins, at levels that they need to be. And it's giving agents the ability to get into real estate, but not have to work with clients. And so giving them that path, so it's less painful than it was for me. And now I can serve my community and serve my family and my wife and God in a different way than I'd be able to if I was still selling 60, 80, 100 homes a year, personally.
You got your life back, man. I love it. And we'll plug it all in a minute. Here's my last question I ask everybody. And this is going to be interesting from you because you're a giant personal development guy. But I imagine this. Here's the question. I'm an aspiring agent. I have $25, Lars. What book should I go buy today?
There's probably... I want to say, I could say like 3 or 4, but I want to say, I'm going through my stack here. It's a Dan Kennedy book. It's either sales success or business success, or time management. So it's no BS. If you're just new to real estate, you want to pick up the sales success because that's just kind of getting things going for you on the sales side. The time management is just awesome. I think you could probably buy 2 of these for $25. So I would say buy 2 of them. But these books are game changers, especially the time management for entrepreneurs. If you're a true entrepreneur and you want to get out of production at some point, even if you're in the midst of it, the second edition of the No BS Time Management for Entrepreneurs, I think is something that most people will never understand. This level of time management. And just, and tracking stuff down to what your hourly worth is. And, once I changed my hourly worth in my mind to $1,000 an hour, it took a whole bunch of stuff off my plate and let me hire even an additional layer of leverage into my life that I didn't have, even when I was just working in the real estate business. So really, really cool book.
Awesome. Well, listen, they don't even have to spend $25. Everybody, you can go get a Dan Kennedy book for free using our link, audibletrial.com/superagentslive. Hey, Lars, I know. Look, you spent a bunch of time with me. I owe you $1,000. That's what you're worth. I appreciate you coming out. Everybody, this is a great episode. Everybody's going to want to say thank you. They might want to ask you a question. Where, plug some of your stuff. Where can they go? Where can they reach out to you? And thank you for spending, this time with us.
Yeah, I appreciate it too. I mean, it's been a good time. I apologize for the technical glitch there. I think the best way, for agents that kind of what I talk about resonates with them, and if you're serious about getting on the phone and seeing if I can help you, do what I've done with less mistakes and even quicker than I have, jump on larsstrategysession.com, LARSstrategysession.com, and simple registration process. You can book literally right into my calendar and get live on the phone with me. So those for agents that are really interested in doing things differently, and they see the opportunity to build a business where most agents are going to be stuck doing production, until they're 75 years old. If you want to do it differently, grab some time with me and we'll talk about it. LarsStrategySession.com.
Got it. Do it, guys. I don't know what it costs, but whatever it is, invest in yourself.
The strategy session's free.
Get out of here.
Strategy session's free.
You get on the phone with people for free.
Yep. I get them. Yeah. If you're serious about growing your business, obviously at the end of the call, we're going to chat about, we'll put a plan in place. But then we're going to chat about, me helping you execute the plan. So there's an opportunity to work in one of my different programs I have. But, yeah, I get on the phone with people, and it's good stuff. We do a lot of work in a 30-minute strategy session, and there's no obligation at all.
Oh, man. Dude, I feel bad for you. When this thing goes live, I seriously feel bad for you, dude.
Well, luckily, I block out, Fridays 9 to 1.
Got it. Okay.
So it may fill out my calendar for a few months, but it won't take all my slots.
Got it. Okay, cool. Hey, bud, I want to say thank you. So I appreciate it. And really, Lars, every now and again, I'll have somebody like you on the show that, that just brings it. And I really wish we could have had more time. And, maybe we can do, a second episode, somewhere down the road. But I want to thank you personally from me. Thanks for taking the time out and coming on.
Yeah, thanks so much, Toby. Appreciate it.
You got it. All right, see you, pal.
All right, buddy. Thanks so much.
Let's go. Yeah. For those of you that want to know what we're all about, it's like this, yo. This is 10% luck, 20% skill, 15% concentrated power.